And to our other big story today, the Democratic National Convention DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz promising an orderly convention after taking aim at Republican, tweeting this last week. Hey, Reince, I'm in Cleveland if you need another chair to help keep your convention in order. But how the tables have turned.
For more on this and how the media has handled her stepping down is Michael Graham with the Weekly Standard. Thank you so much for getting up early with us.
You know, Debbie Wasserman Schultz right now is probably saying, why couldn't I just have a plagiarism scandal? Why not? Why couldn't it just been 25 words in the spouse's wife's speech? And now instead, she and the media are in this odd position, having obsessed over those two sentences for what, 2 full days? They now have thousands of DNC emails, and they can't ignore it now. They're they're hoisting their own petard, as they say.
Do you ever recall a convention beginning in this way with the chairwoman stepping down?
This is what's interesting. By the way, for people home, because I was confused about this, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is going to hand the gavel over to Congresswoman Marcia Fudge of Ohio, who's going to act as the convention chair, but Donna Brazile is going to step in at the DNC so that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, having been tarnished by this, can now become honorary chairwoman of the Hillary Clinton campaign. This is like a bad episode of House of Cards.
You're right. You actually can't make this up. That's how crazy this all is. Michael, how is the media going to cover this? Because as you said, I mean, this happened yesterday. I'm assuming this will be talked about this entire week. Do you think it's going to be balanced coverage?
Well, no, I mean, one of the things that's already happening is that the conversations about Russia and what are the Russians up to, and does Donald Trump have a connection with Russia? Because they don't want to talk about the core story that is energizing the Bernie Sanders people, who, by the way, here in Philadelphia, there will be protests every day by Bernie Sanders. Oh, and by sheer coincidence, Marcia Fudge was anti-Bernie and said he wasn't a real Democrat early on and that he should have stepped aside for Hillary Clinton. So that's going to calm Bernie Sanders people down even more. I think what's perfect is Ms. Fudge's last name, if you use it as a verb, perfectly describes how the Democrats ran their primary. They were fudging all over the place for Hillary Clinton. They've been caught red-handed. And I just wish the media would just report the emails. Stop telling me about Russia or about motives. Report the emails. What did they say? Share this disturbing language about the taco bowl
or conspiracy
hiccup that they were doing.
Some people even saying that Trump it might be a conspiracy from the Trump campaign.
Exactly. I remember the good old days when WikiLeaks worked for the Mossad. Now apparently they're working for the Russians. Here's the deal. We have the emails, and they show something very clearly. Bernie Sanders the Democrats can say Bernie Sanders had his chance to run. You know, he had his campaign. He got his 46% of the vote. But the polls were clear. The polls were clean. But the fact is, the refs were corrupt. If you tell somebody, well, you got to play the whole football game, and then you find afterwards that the refs were working for the other team, there's no way that that's a fair game.
You were mentioning how they keep talking about the Russian ties. Here's what Tamron Hall had to say about it.
Part of the Hillary Clinton campaign push with these emails is that this could be from Russia, that this is some plan. I find it interesting that Donald Trump's team pushed back, Hallie, when he is the conspirator-in-chief of any kind of conspiracy that comes out. His campaign is saying that this is all a desperate attempt.
All over the place there, the conspiracy that Abby was talking about, the Russian ties. And it's interesting that they keep talking about Russia, because what does that say about Hillary Clinton using her private server as well? In terms of being able to be hacked.
No, they promise they never break into servers in your basement that are protected by a little wind-up toy dog on top that's barking at. They would never ever do that. And so and also notice that direction. Why aren't you being a conspiracy theorist too? They're feeding the ancillary stories instead of talking about the facts that the Democratic National Committee used its influence as best they could to put their thumb on the scale in favor of the woman who's standing in front of a divided convention. And that also feeds into the bigger story of this election. I really believe the election is going to come down to some people who think the whole system is so rigged that they're going to support a riskier candidate like Donald Trump without the experience, because they think we'll never fix it. You can't trust anyone in government to do it right. Let's just kick the whole table over. And this convention is going to reiterate that message every time you see Debbie Wasserman Schultz on TV.
It's just interesting because that has been Trump's message from day one a year ago when he announced his presidency, the rigged system. He's the outsider. So interesting. All right, Michael Graham, thanks for being with us this morning.